Right now, we talk about roads in, well, everywhere, but especially Calhoun County. And we're very happy to have John Midgley here. He's the managing director of the Calhoun County Road Commission. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in and talking roads with us a little bit. There was a story in the news today. It's been going viral on the internet. Some little kid up in Muskegon Heights is out there pounding dirt into a pothole, and they got him on camera, and so of course that's gone viral from a little kid trying to do his best out there. It kind of reminds me of that saying my grandma used to say: he doesn't have sense enough to pound sand in a rat hole. But at least he's out there trying to do something. It seems like your hands are kind of tied while the legislature sits here and tries to figure out, what we're going to do to move forward on an overall plan. But you still have your work to do here in Calhoun County, and you still have your budget. And so I imagine it's a busy time of year for you.
Yes, it's extremely busy. We've got crews out. Actually, we've been working 6 days a week trying to patch potholes. It's seeming a never-ending task right now, and the cold patch that we're putting in the holes, we know it's not a permanent fix, and we're hoping to get hot mix asphalt here. We've heard that one of the plants may be opening April 15th, and that would be good, and we can get some more permanent patches done.
So it's not just a case of the weather has to warm up to a certain point. It's that they don't even open those plants to give you that product until a certain time.
That's correct.
Didn't know that.
No, they're closed obviously all winter, and you can't pave in cold weather. And once the demand starts up for them, then they're ready to reopen. We are looking at something maybe a little bit different for next year. We're just starting to do the research on it. It's called a recycler, where you use asphalt that you've taken off roads, milled up, or and you add that to a machine and basically makes a hot mix. It's not as good as what you get out of the asphalt plants, but what we've heard in the preliminary stages, that it does last a lot longer, and it's according to the manufacturers, of course, it's a lot cheaper to produce that than it is to buy the cold mix.
Well, that could be a great thing. One of the solutions that State Senator John Bison keeps bringing it up, and others as well, is that we may have to make the tough decision to turn some of our paved roads in terrible condition in this county back to gravel roads. And it seems that would be an exciting way to at least recycle some of that.
Well, when you turn it back to gravel, the ones that they're talking, excuse me, the one we're talking about are generally a double seal coat road that were done maybe 20 years ago. And what you do is you grind it up, and all that material stays on the road. There's not a lot there. It goes back into the base.
I see.
And you end up with basically a really nice gravel road you can maintain a whole lot easier than some of these that are just pothole after pothole.
Well, let's talk about that before we go too much further then. I get an idea from what you were just saying, what's involved, but let's, what decisions are going to go into that from your point of view as somebody who's actually in charge of getting the work done, whether or not a road would be a good choice for that?
Well, what we're looking at is a road that's basically its useful life is gone. It's been there 20 years, and some of them are just potholes or patches on patches. It's just you go out and inspect the roads. We do a PACER rating every year on all our roads. They're rated 1 to 10, 1 being in a failed condition, 10 being brand new. And we have a lot of roads that are 1s, and most of them on the lower end of the scale. And so it'd be a process that we go out and pick the roads and work. We actually would talk to the townships before we turned any of those, because you're talking mostly local roads, and we talk to the townships before making any decisions.
And of course, they're going to tell you how many people live there and probably what kind of traffic, maybe that figuring. I would say my road's probably a 1, and but heavily traveled, and that would be Stone Jug Road, basically from Carver down to C Drive South. And it's in terrible condition, but it's got to be fixed right. And it looks like Leroy Township realizes that. They want to put a decent fix on it. And we'll get into that too. that's an interesting proposal from Leroy Township because it breaks it down in exactly what types of road repairs for what roads, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to you about today, John, is what are they talking about when they refer to these? But before we bring that up, just tell us a little bit about your background in working for road commissions and road repair and that type of stuff.
Well, I started my career with the Indiana State Highway Commission. Went from there to MDOT. Was there for 4 years. I spent 22 years in Jackson as the director of engineering there. And then I was up in Ingham County for about 6.5 years as their managing director before I retired from that position.
Wow. Well, it's great to have that kind of experience because I mentioned State Senator Dr. John Bison. One of the things he keeps saying is we've just got to be as smart as we can be so that we at least get the most out of our buck that we can get because we don't have that many bucks for road repairs. So I take it with your background in engineering, you can kind of look at it, get the lay of the land pretty quick and start getting some ideas that you're going to investigate as to what's going to work best in a road.
Yes, I'm still trying, obviously, to learn the system. I've been on the job here for only 4 months. Now that we're getting through winter, we're trying to finalize what projects we're going to undertake this summer. We wanted to get through the winter to see how bad the roads were affected with that. And we'll just proceed from there.
Yeah. I mentioned the proposal, Leroy Township proposing a 5.4 mil for like 15 years to do something that's sorely needed in that township. I think most people will agree that we need some work done there somewhere, but they've got a lot of different categories for different roads. One of them is micro, an asphalt emulsion overlaid with crushed stone and topped with a micro thin asphalt overlay. Is this the thing where you got to drive on it and you wish you didn't have to because they just kind of spray it and put some stone over it?
No, the microsurface is kind of the Cadillac of that. It's used generally in a subdivision where you don't want a lot of loose stone. So once it's done, it looks like a pavement. It looks new. It doesn't have all that loose stone. Where the chip seal, that's where we spread the asphalt emulsion and put the slag stone on top of it.
I see. So in these types of things, are they good for heavy traffic? Do they have a long life? And do they cost more or less than other types?
They're generally used on a road that's in good condition to maintain the road. If the road has failed and there's numerous potholes, a chip seal or a microsurface is not going to prolong the life.
The next several types of repairs that they're proposing are HMA 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, and 3. Well, just basically those four. What are we talking about there when we talk about HMA with a number?
The HMA stands for hot mixed asphalt, so that's a new asphalt surface going down. The 1.5 means 1.5 inches of asphalt would go on. 2.0 is 2 inches, and so forth.
All right, all the way to 3. And
yep.
What do they do to prep that? Obviously, then you have to patch all the holes before you can put that down.
They would, if there's any surface that needs to be addressed, they would do that prior to putting the asphalt down. The other one, I'm not sure if it's on the CSC 3 and 3.5.
Right.
That stands for crushed and shape. So what they come in is they crush the road, reshape it, and then they put the asphalt on it.
And I could see that, especially like our road. I mentioned Stone Jug Road. If you put pavement over that, it would just be a lumpy mess because what's under it is a lumpy mess. So they kind of mill that off then in those conditions and then put down 3.5 inches of hot asphalt.
Well, they don't mill it off. They grind it up and leave it there and then reshape it. And so that gives you your good base.
I see. All right. Good. What's a CMHO 1.5 or 2.0?
Got me to that one.
Oh, wait a minute. Here it has a little explanation. Mill the roadway to along the edge of the curb and resurface with HMA.
Oh, that would be used in areas where we have curb and gutter. So That's what they're talking about, is milling up next to the curb so we don't damage it.
I didn't know he had any of those in Leroy Township. I can't even think of a curb and gutter. There must be somewhere. Re-gravel, 3 inches of re-gravel. So I guess that's pretty self-explanatory where there's already a gravel road.
Yeah, they just added additional material. A lot of roads in the county have not had gravel added to them in a number of years.
Mm-hmm. And crush the gravel, crush the existing roadway, and that's what we were talking about before, I guess. Add 3 inches of road gravel, shape and compact the gravel surface.
Yes, yeah, that's what we were talking about before, and you'd end up with a nice gravel road by doing that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could see, we probably could get more car washes springing up in Calhoun County if we go to that system. But it sounds like we might have to. You know what rubs me the wrong way, and you've said it's a good way to improve a roadway fast, but it seems like a step backwards. I mean, this is America. We're supposed to have paved roads, aren't we?
Well, I guess the question comes down to would you like a nice gravel road, or do you want a somewhat paved road full of potholes and patches?
Sure. Yeah.
If, quite honestly, I tried to get a rough idea on the needs in the county, and of course our motor vehicle funds come in about $12 million a year. Without addressing the bridge needs, we have over $300 million worth of needs in Calhoun County, just on county roads.
Well, let's repeat that. You're thinking you need 300 million, you got 12 million? Is that what you're saying?
12 million, and out of that comes all of our operating expenses, winter maintenance, which is almost $2 million a year, pothole, all that comes out of that 12 million. So,
and you said bridges too. So we've got the bridge over there by Victory Life Church that failed. And I don't even know what the status is of that now, but that's got to take a pretty sizable chunk out of a budget if just one bridge fails.
Yes, we're looking. We're applying for critical bridge funds for one of the bridges on Old 27 down by Tecumseh. Sorry, no, Tecumseh.
Tecumseh, yeah.
And that's estimated replacement cost on that is like $2.8 million. One bridge.
2.8 million. You're talking about 12 million, and having to do all the maintenance and winter and everything. One bridge can just about wipe a quarter of it out.
Well, that's why we're looking at trying to get federal funding on that. They generally pay about 90 to 95% of the replacement cost if you can get it qualified.
So how do you do that?
We submit every agency in the state can submit structures, and they're reviewed by a committee, and then the selection's made by the committee on which bridges get funded.
Wow. And John Midgley is the managing director of the Calhoun County Road Department. And yeah, I've been saying commission, and that's of course what it's been, but it is actually renamed the department now, correct?
You're correct. We're now officially a department of the county instead of a road commission.
Yep. And that change made a few years ago. Well, we were talking about the different types of repairs that are being proposed. Like my example is Leroy Township, where I live. And I was wondering where they arrive at that. And you guys actually look it over and make a recommendation. This road would need that, right?
That's right. We worked with the township in trying to put together a list of what we thought the roads needed, and they worked with that to develop their proposal.
Mm-hmm. And as we've talked many times about how road funding works in Calhoun County, basically, you've got your 12 million coming in, and if a township or municipality, I guess probably more often a township, has a project they want to do, then they need to demonstrate that they can get some funding together, and then you guys try to match that. Is that how it works?
Well, under Act 51, any construction activity requires at least 50% of the funding to come from some source other than the road department. That can be a private entity. The citizens may band together and raise the money. It comes through the township, though. Ultimately, that's where the fund. However it's funded, we work with the township.
Yeah, and basically it's either going to be a millage or, in some cases, a special assessment. Those, I would say, are the two most common methods.
To do a large scale like Leroy is proposing, yes, you're right.
Sure. Now, what if every township said, all right, we're passing a millage, and you didn't have enough money? Then would things just get nudged to the next year, or what?
We'd have to take a strong look at that. If these proposals, there's also one in Emmett Township going to be on the ballot in May. If both of those pass, we've committed to funding our portion of those projects, and that would we'd have to bond for those improvements.
Sure. And luckily, some other area townships have been making improvements along, so we don't have to do it all at once. I mean, Penfield and I believe Bedford and even Albion have done some work in the past few years. They've managed to raise some money, get the matching funds, and so we're in better shape in those areas, correct?
Yes, some townships have been addressing projects over the years. There's several we deal with every year.
Yeah, and I know that we definitely in my township, Leroy, they definitely need to do something there. And you guys don't get into the politics of it; you get into the nuts and bolts building of it.
That's correct.
So if a township says, "All right, here's some money," then John Midgley and his crew say, "All right, here's some asphalt."
Well, we generally we budgeted this year for just in normal matching fund $630,000. We have budgeted this year to match contributions coming in from outside sources.
There have been some discussions, of course, about increasing a gas tax and all sorts of other things so that we can do a lot more work on the roads. But we had a guy call up and say, I've been working in the asphalt industry for 20 years, and I can tell you right now, every guy I know works around the clock in season. There is no other people for increased road repair here. And others are saying, yeah, that's probably right. We'd have to go out of state and try to bring crews in here if we were going to do it. You've been there in the trenches. Does that seem accurate? Are we just like at full capacity for asphalt production in this state?
I wouldn't say that. What would happen if there was so much work that the local companies couldn't handle it? You'd have other companies coming in to pick up some of that work.
Yeah, and maybe new ones would spring up. Hey, I'm always wanting to get into business. Here we go.
That's correct.
Getting back to this recycling idea, this newer product, is that something that we would be able to do in the department here, or would we still have contractors responsible for taking up that old pavement and reusing it?
We would probably do some of both. It kind of depends on the workload we have.
Mm-hmm.
We are somewhat limited with staff. We've got right now 47 road workers that are out doing the projects, maintaining the county, and actually we have a maintenance contract with the state highway department. We take care of all the state highways in Calhoun County except for I-94, which they maintain themselves.
Wow, and so that's over and above your 12 million.
Yeah, yes, that's.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, very interesting, very enlightening. I learned a bunch, John. We appreciate you coming in and sharing some of that info. Anything I forgot?
I'd just like to mention, I know we get a lot of calls, people asking about why we're out trimming trees on roads and what's that got to do with pavements. Well, the canopy over the road, if the road can't dry out, it causes it to deteriorate a lot faster than it would if the sun can get there and dry it out. So we try to open up some of those canopies, especially if we're doing a new pavement.
I got to admit, I didn't realize that until a few years ago. And then all of a sudden, one day, I just noticed, wow, the worst areas on the roads out near my house, if you look straight up, there's a heavy canopy of trees right over the road. It is a major deal. So, not only to maintain roads, but to keep them good for years and years to come. It's really a big part of the road building, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's why we've had crews out all winter trying to get some of that done.
And that's one of the few things you can do in the winter, too. You can't do much asphalt work. You can do a little cold patching, but that's about it. So, yeah, that is important.
Yep, that and plowing snow. That's basically what we do in the winter.
Right. Well, pretty soon we'll get the hot asphalt cranking out. You think maybe in a couple of weeks if we're lucky.
They're talking April 15th having one of the plants open. So if that's the case, as soon as it's available, that's what we'll start using.
All right. John Midgley, the Managing Director of the Calhoun County Road Department. Thanks again for being with us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.